Thank you, Acting Speaker. I rise to speak on the Gambling Legislation Amendment Bill of 2025. The bill will amend the Gambling Regulation Act of 2003 and the Casino Control Act of 1991. I would like to thank the member for Brunswick for his short and succinct words and thoughts, and I'd certainly concur, and also the member for Point Cook spoke very eloquently and brought it back to what this debate really is, which it's not about a lot of the stuff that's been talked about, but it is about people and the damage. I actually, I must be feeling a bit sick, which I am, but I'm going to thank the member for Hawthorn for his opening. That got your attention, didn't it? For his opening remarks, because up until he criticised the member for Frankston, his opening remarks just reminded me too that, you know, there are pubs and clubs and RSLs and around Australia that do some great work. They're great places for the community to meet. They're great social activities, but also, and importantly, they employ a lot of locals and a lot of the members in their communities. And it was just good to be reminded that, because sometimes when I've gone through, this is the fourth bill that's come to the House, you know, when I go back and look at it, I can get a bit negative about pokies and clubs and the damage they cause, but it's also good to sort of remember the other side of it, that there is some positivities in the clubs, and certainly the member for Murray Plains felt the need to, you know, talk about his clubs in that sense. And I don't get up here today and assume that every club, everyone, any owner, manager, any club whatsoever that has pokies is doing the wrong thing. But we need the four bills that we've been debating, and this one being the fourth. We actually need them because there are people that have lost their livelihoods, lost their houses, lost their marriages, lost all hope, because there have been people in the past and clubs in the past that have preyed on them so that they can get the profits that they need or want, and they're not so concerned about the loss of the harm that it does to people that are addicts. And this is one of the other things that throughout the four times we've debated the gambling legislation, there's often people who get up and talk about people with a gambling problem. And I know this drives gambling addicts mad. I think people with a gambling problem can probably know they've got a bit of a problem and they can go and have a bit of a gamble or go to the pokies and they're okay. But we're talking about gambling addicts. We don't talk about people who take heroin as, you know, heroin problem users, or people who are alcoholics as, you know, problem drinkers. I mean, we're talking about people that absolutely have an addiction. And the definition of an addict is someone exhibiting a compulsive, chronic, psychological or physiological need for a habit-forming substance, behaviour or activity, someone unable to stop taking, using or doing something as a habit. So I stand here today with my colleagues to debate these bills and say that what we are doing is we are protecting people that are out of control and that need our help, and it's important that we do that. So that's why we're here to debate these bills. As I've said, this will be the third bill that I've spoken on. I didn't speak on the third one, so this is the fourth bill that's come to the House. And I've spoken on that relates to changes to curb gambling and the harm it brings to Victorians. And I don't even like using that word harm, it's more than that. It's excruciating lived experience. In my first sitting year as an MP in 2023, I spoke on the Gambling Taxation Bill of 23, and in fact that was my very first bill debate that I did. That bill made changes to bring Victoria in line with other states so that a greater economic benefit was had for Victoria, ensuring that Crown were on the same level playing field as local pubs and clubs. Then in my second sitting year in 2024, I spoke on the Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation Repeal and Advisory Council's Bill of 2024. That bill established the Gambling Harm Response Fund and provided additional powers to the Victorian Gambling and Casino Control Commission, the VGCCC. That bill was just another measure to tackle the harms that come with gambling, whilst balancing the legitimate needs of businesses to continue operating effectively. Now, in this, my third sitting year, I'm here to speak on the bill we have before us today. The work on gambling reform hasn't stopped. We are continuing to make changes, make improvements and ensure that we help Victorians with this prevailing issue in our community. Gambling can and has destroyed people, destroyed relationships, destroyed people's finances, destroyed lives. Looking at the data is hard. In the last full financial year, we have on electronic gaming machines spend at local pubs and clubs, just in my electorate alone, is over $32.8 million. That's $32.8 million spent. It's an eye-watering amount, but if I expand that out to the two council areas that I have within my electorate, which is the City of Frankston and the Shire of Mornington Peninsula, that amount is over $153 million in 1 year alone. It's a staggering amount. Now, that's not on all forms of gambling, so that doesn't include online gambling or horse racing, footy or whatever. It's just pokie machines. So it's really important that we debate this. It's important that we do what we can to curb this issue. According to the Australian Institute, Australia has 18% of the entire world's pokie machines. 18%, yet we are less than 1% of the world's population. To say it's not a problem, you would have to have your head 10 metres deep in the sand, which is why we're here to debate and pass this bill to continue our important gambling reforms, because we said we would to the Victorian people. An estimated 330,000 Victorians experience profound harm as a result of gambling each year, costing Victoria around $7 billion annually. It's inconceivable to me that Australians lose more to poker machines per capita than any other country in the world. In the last financial year, Australians across only 5 states lost a staggering $14.5 billion to poker machines in pubs and clubs. And just to be clear, this amount does not include losses to poker machines in casinos. For the 22-23 financial year, Victorians lost over $3 billion, and that's been mentioned before in this chamber today. And again, I remind people that this does not include money lost at the casino. It's a staggering amount of money that people are putting into machines. These losses cause enormous damage or harm, as this bill states, to not just the people losing the money, but also to their families, their friends, their relationships, their mental health, to their work environment and to their community. This damage includes family violence, homelessness, breakdowns, physical and mental health issues, and often to suicide attempts. Between 2009 and 2016, where the Victorian Suicide Register was examined, it revealed at least 184 suicides were directly related to gambling harm. I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like harm to me. It sounds like something much, much worse, and devastation comes to mind. There was an additional 17 gambling-attributed suicides by affected others, such as family members. Research concluded that gambling-related suicides were about 4% of total suicides in Victoria, but they also believe it is in fact much higher, possibly as high as 20% of all suicides. Now, as I've mentioned before, this is the third bill I've spoken on in this chamber that relates to gambling, because the work on reforms doesn't stop, and we will continue to make improvements. The Gambling Legislation Amendment Bill of 2025 delivers much-needed reform to how gambling is regulated in Victoria, ensuring the state can continue to derive value from major gambling licences while strengthening protections for the community. The bill modernises the licensing framework for gambling, enhances integrity measures and reinforces responsible gaming initiatives. These reforms ensure Victoria's licensing process remain robust, transparent and capable of responding to technological changes and the ever-evolving community expectations. Victoria is once again leading the nation on gambling reform, and the Allan Labor government is taking decisive action to update outdated systems, minimise harm and ensure our licensing processes are fit for purpose. There's more I could say on the bill, but I'm sort of running out of time. I think I started out talking about this idea that the pubs and clubs, there's something positive about, you know, what they contribute to the community and also employment. And we need to find a balance between stopping the harm and having these positive experiences. I commend the builder of the house.